But I'm good. I think we're living through one of the most fascinating times in this fiat money story. To me, it feels like the unwind from this fiat regime and what was set up and continued through this World War era. I think it's unwinding fascinatingly. And it's a great time to be working on Bitcoin. Both there's money to be made, there's opportunity in starting businesses, but I also feel like I'm contributing to the world and playing my small role in restoring, prosperity to our species and hopefully contributing to a new era of human flourishing. So I feel great. Sun's coming out in Chicago. I'm eating a lot of ribeyes. Well, what's interesting is, not that this is a political podcast, whether you think Trump is great or not, I don't really give a shit. The reality is what he's trying to do is what America has to do, which is getting back to proof of work and producing its own materials and being part of trade without printed pieces of paper and with real goods and services. And America is actually rich with resources. We actually have plenty of food. We actually have plenty of energy, plenty of oil. We just have never thought to have to put in the proof of work to produce it ourselves over the last 100 years. So I'm excited. I agree with you. I think America has great food, great access to energy, great mines, a great population that is willing to work hard given it has to. And so I think folks like Chicago, hopefully we can export some of our steaks to the rest of the world one day, and be part of real global trade as opposed to printing pieces of paper and exporting those. Yes, we've launched a Bitcoin collateralized lending service, which, I wanted to be clear. For some, this is redundant, but on Twitter, I need to make sure everyone at the margins understands there's no yield with this product. I mean, it has such a awful history full of scammers. There's no yield for depositors. Depositors just get a very beautiful Bitcoin wallet that's fully reserved. And it's a 50% LTV collateralized loan. So it's over collateralized. So you get to draw half of your Bitcoin wealth out in cash. And we offer a 12-month term. And there's two style of loans. You can make monthly interest payments for the cheapest version of the product, or we offer a version of the product called payment at maturity. Now, this is what I think is the best version of the product and a genius way to use your Bitcoin wealth is that you don't owe us any money until the end of the loan. You pay the APR plus the principal back after the 12 months. So you don't actually need to pay us on a monthly basis. That's our most popular version of the product. And it allows Bitcoiners to access their Bitcoin wealth without having to sell it and incur a capital gains event. And I think it's a huge deal. I mean, we are already offering Strike in over 100 countries. So no financial service that I know of can offer a loan credibly to billions of people in the world without credit checks on a mobile device. I mean, if someone in Ghana needed to get a loan from me without Bitcoin, I'd have to assess a picture of their Ghanaian property or something like that. It would be impossible. So I think it's a huge deal. The fact that you can draw capital against an asset that's compounding annual growth rate is around 50% is a way to make the money printers work for you, be on the positive side of this debt-based monetary system. But I'll pause there. And obviously at Strike, we want to do it the right way. It is no rehypothecation. We'll launch a proof of reserves iteration of this product coming shortly, and everything that whatever BlockFi, Celsius, and Sam Bankman-Fried we're the opposite. And we want to provide Bitcoiners a trustworthy way to access this wealth without parting with the sats. Yeah, we published some of them for a few reasons. One, I mean, we've just gotten big and we've achieved some pretty big milestones that I don't think the world has totally appreciated who we serve and why we serve who we serve. Also, becoming the CEO of 21, an entirely separate company that I co-founded, I wanted the world to know, and especially our customers, that Strike is doing phenomenally well and that starting another company had nothing to do with Strike and me shifting my focus, that I run two big successful companies. That's possible. I don't know who made the rule that you can only start one company. I'm defying that law. People are so shocked for some weird reason. You can just do things. And so I wanted to let the world know, let our customers know we're doing great. Extremely profitable, high margin business. We're actually going to announce our Bitcoin treasury within the next week. We're a top 20 holder as far as corporations Bitcoin treasury. We own thousands of Bitcoin at Strike, and it's a great business. And I wanted to make sure people have confidence in us, and we give that level of transparency as well. Yeah, so we'll make an official announcement, but Strike owns, I actually don't know at this very second because we buy every day, but call it around 1,500 Bitcoin. So our balance sheet has approaching, hundreds of millions of dollars on it. That far exceeds the venture capital money we've raised. And for 75 people, that's not too bad. Extremely profitable business. So as we announced, we'll make anywhere between tens of millions to over $100 million of cash flow this year from our operating company. It's a really interesting business in that the products we sell and the vision and the brand that we have built is very viral. So we don't spend money on marketing at all. all of our customers are acquired organically, which is rare. We've been able to build products in 100 plus countries and acquire customers there without needing to pay a bunch of influencers to tell people to download our stuff, which I think is rare and cool and speaks to the quality of, the vision we're selling. I mean, to be totally candid, it just speaks to how powerful Bitcoin is. It's not that hard to sell something that's growing 50% a year against debasing pieces of paper. And so, and we're really emerging as, one of the leaders of Bitcoin financial services globally, and lean, profitable, stacking sats. And I thought customers deserve to know our financial position, how strong we are, and that the future of their financial services and the business is in really good hands, and that I'm more than capable of running 2 businesses. That was a lot of the reason why we did that. 100%. Yeah. And I think one of the things I'm most proud of is Strike. Listen, we're disruptive because we're into Bitcoin. We're disruptive because we focus on Bitcoin and not shit coins. We've done a lot of things well. One of the things that I'm most proud of is the culture. We've had a culture of we must be profitable. At one point as a founder, I realized venture capital, like kick the can down the road type of fundraising for unprofitable companies is a scam. It's bullshit. It's unjust to have these things exist in society. An unprofitable business to me means the company is consuming more from the world than they're producing value to the world. That's bullshit. I did not want to be one of those people. And so we almost took it as a cultural cornerstone for us is we need to be profitable because that's the right thing to do for the world. We want to produce more value for the world than we take from the world. And so just like our hurdle rate internally is Bitcoin. If someone internally comes to me with hey, Jack, I got a really good idea. I want to start a new product. I want to hire a bunch of people. I say, well, going to grow faster than 50% year over year because you're competing against Bitcoin. And usually the answer is no. And so I say, get out of my office because if you can't outcompete Bitcoin, it's not going to get my time, energy in our balance sheet. Sorry. And so we've built a really strict culture that actually measures future success, not based on a debasing dollar with infinite sloshes of venture capital money in Silicon Valley, but it's measured against Bitcoin. And so we've been very lean, profitable, more from a principled standpoint. Like we find it a moral imperative to be profitable because it means we're doing good for the world on net. And that's turned into an amazing business. And so I think it's the restoration of ethics, morals, principles to building a startup. That's one of the things I'm most proud of amongst some of the other stuff. But I mean, we're less than 100 people. We got hundreds of millions of dollars on balance sheet, producing profits and extremely focused on our customers because we're measuring ourselves against Bitcoin. And we have, this really new age startup type of mentality and attitude as opposed to like infinite money printing Silicon Valley. You might as well lose hundreds of millions of dollars a year because you can go raise it again and buy billboards on the highway that no one actually cares about. Being profitable means you're delivering more value to those around you than you're consuming from the world. It is quite literally the financial way of saying you're making the world a better place. And so that should be the baseline goal for anyone starting anything, and anything that financially and mathematically isn't making the world a better place shouldn't exist. The free market should punish and crush and make these businesses, these ideas extinct because it's a net negative to the world. Now, when I was an entrepreneur and I first started out, I didn't understand all this. For those listening, I'm 31 years old. I got into Bitcoin when I was 18. And so a kid when I started my entrepreneurial journey, trying to wrap my head around what Satoshi had created. And I would say in the last market cycle, I had so much when, what went down with El Salvador and we integrated Lightning with Twitter, I had so much venture capital money thrown at me safe. There were a lot of people that liked the attention and liked the headlines that were around me. I didn't have the best people around me. And when the market corrected and the bear market happened, I had to go through this experience very painfully on my own, which was, am what I've built good for the world? Because we were losing money. We had achieved a lot of headlines, a lot of Twitter followers, a lot of stuff, but we weren't cash flow positive. It was hard for me to really wrap my head around measuring what was good for the world if it was up to a venture capitalist to determine the value that I was building and the vision that I had embarked on. And what you come to realize is, measuring in future fundraisers from venture capitalists and a depreciating currency, to Saifedean's point, it's a game of, who can lose money in the most attractive way under the negative 5%. So, I mean, even before we made these announcements, Saif, there was a blue chip Silicon Valley startup that published an article on TechCrunch. My chief of staff was like, hey, you got to read this article. It's funny because they're talking about their top line revenues and how much growth they've had and how much customers they've had. But at the very end of the article, they mentioned they're still not profitable and they need to raise money. And so it was this whole article of like, we were making hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. We're growing all this. We opened an office in London. We're amazing. Look at this, like very Christmas card-esque picture of our founding team. But at the very bottom, it's like, but we lose $50 million a quarter and we need to raise money to survive. And that actually motivated me to publish our own numbers and talk about my experience as a founder in Bitcoin and realizing the fiat game is amok. And the top line revenues don't matter. The bottom line profits actually matter. And that if you give people hundreds of millions of dollars of fiat, they're just going to puke it on marketing, on new products, on hiring a bunch of people. And yeah, it was through that experience that I kind of pivoted. I changed the culture and the energy around Strike, what we were trying to do. And since then, it's been a rocket ship. So I'm thankful for those experiences. But for those entrepreneurs out there, hopefully you take it from me and you don't have to live it yourself. Be profitable, which is a moral good for the world. Measure yourself in Bitcoin, not in dollars. Don't be part of the scam.